Alright, so Yoon's talk number 14. 5 things that I wish I knew before I went to boot camp. So this has been a series that I've been doing for a while, so I'm going to continue it for a bit longer. So, number 1. You want to make sure, if you want to get promoted in terms of being promoted for doing a good job at a specific job as to RPOC, AROC, head PO, whatever, you want to make sure that you take a role that your RDCs, your recruit division commanders, aka your instructors, are paying specific attention to. That they are even criticizing you about how you are doing that job. Right? The more attention that they give you in that specific job, the more likely you are to be able to get promoted at the end of boot camp. In my best recommendation, because they're not going to give the promotion to someone with a job that's not very important, and they're not going to spend a lot of time and energy paying a lot of attention to, right? The most important things in boot camp, they are going to make sure it's done right. They're going to make sure that they put their time and effort into developing that specific recruit to the standard that they want. And by the end, if they have the results they want, they will give that person a promotion, right? So, number 2, your experience in boot camp will strictly depend on your RDC. So my RDC, they were pretty nice, lenient people, right? But I've heard of people, some RDCs, recruit division commanders, who make a point to even curse you out, to make you cry. And there are other RDCs who emphasize more on physical punishments, right? So my RDC was right about in between, but much more laid back and much more relaxed. So your experience will depend on your recruit division commanders. All right. So number 3, run outside. Right. To give you an example, when I was in boot camp, before I joined, I just strictly did treadmills, running on treadmills, and I went to boot camp into Freedom Hall, which is the gym facility, and what I quickly realized is running on a track compared to running on a treadmill is completely different. Because when you are in a gym, in a nice facility on a treadmill, you have the nice air conditioning and, it's nice and cool and you get to run. But when you are in a track field with 200 other people, it gets hot very quick, and how you run on that flat surface is very, very different. All right? So you want to make sure that you run outside as much as you can, and preferably a hot environment during the summer. So number 4, depth test. So one of the things that when I first met my recruiter and I had my start guide is my recruiter looked at the start guide and said, all right, only know this, this, and this. Don't worry about these, this, and this. Right? So when I went to take the depth test, I looked at it and I recognized all the things that my recruiter told me to study. But there was a lot more that my recruiter said don't worry about was on the test, right? So know everything on the start guide. Every bits and pieces of the start guide is in the depth test, all right? And the depth test is 2 parts. Number 1, the test, the written exam where you study the start guide. The second part to it is the physical fitness assessment. Your first PFA depends on that, right? So you may be able to pass the written portion, but if you don't pass the physical portion, you don't get promoted, right? And vice versa. If you fail the written portion, but you pass the physical portion, you still don't get promoted. All right, it doesn't work that way. So you want to make sure that you are physically in standard, right? So last thing, number 5, bring your cell phone and your wallet, right? So a lot of times before I left for boot camp, I left all my belongings at home. So I just got my shirt on my back, my pants, and my shoes, and went to the airport, arrived. And what I noticed was all the way through was my other recruits. They were just talking on the phone with their parents for the last time before they get to call back home in a month. So I personally wish that I brought my start guide and also my cell phone and also my wallet, right? To be able to talk to my parents for the last time for a month. And then when you get into boot camp, when you get into the facility, you still get to call your parents for the last time, and then you send everything back home, your clothes you're wearing and your cell phone back home. If you don't want to send your clothes back home because it costs money, you can have the option to throw it away. In that case, don't bring your cell phone, and also you want to bring your wallet, because at the end of boot camp you do have the option to purchase pictures. Now pictures, they are about $300, so they are pretty expensive. So you need your credit or debit card. There's nothing else, no other purchasing option that is available to you when you are in. And lastly, having your start guide, right? I saw a lot of people when they first arrived, they were able to keep their start guide. And during the first week, the processing week before they took the test, up until that point, they were able to study the start guide until they took the depth test. And then afterwards, they threw it away. So those are my 5 things that I wish I knew. Thanks for watching. And I hope you have a great Navy day.